So one thing that's in my mind would be thinking about these. Now, academic excellence, so important for me because I don't want to be financially dependent on a man. I want to do really well and follow my aspirations. Another thing that I focus a lot on would be Hindi, because I want to be as fluent in that language as I possibly can. Now, it's a sister language to many of them in India. It's actually a language that's spoken all across, as well as English, but I feel it's even more so respectful to learn Hindi. And plus, I enjoy it a lot. It's a very interesting language. And I cannot wait to become more proficient. It was so much fun being able to interact with so many different people when I went on to that study abroad trip. And even in America, so many people speak Hindi, or at least they can understand it. So one thing that means a lot to me as well would be communication. Being able to just have my phone and have texting and calling so that I can talk to my family and friends even though I'm away at Temple. Now, not to say that I don't know anyone at Temple, but it's way more lonely here in Philly than it is back in Lancaster where I come from, because I study so much. That's why I came here, because this anthropology program is intensive and I wanted to take full advantage of that. So when I'm over here, I actually have gotten to know my professors more than many of the students. So it means a lot to me to be able to just call family when I'm walking from my class to my dorm, or when I feel like I've had enough of studying and I need like an hour break or something. So that's one of my stress relievers. So another thing that my mind tells me would definitely be to stay fit. Now, it means so much more than just having the skinny physique. I mean, that's a big part of it too, but another thing is that I was in a car accident when I was really small. So we got rear-ended, and even though I was in the car seat properly, the impact was so strong that it still broke my back. So actually, your back kind of goes like this. It broke kind of like that. So the calcium deposits actually missed each other. So it remained like this instead of fusing together. So the things that are really holding it together that make it so that I don't fall down in pain would be to exercise and to have fun with it. As long as I keep this strong, my core, then everything's fine. But if I were to stop doing that, and if I were to be out of shape, then it wouldn't work out. I would be back to where I started when I had to get physical therapy. But there are other things too that I think about. For instance, I think of a lot of social problems. For example, why is it that you see a lot of Asian guys not with white girls, but you see a lot of white guys with Asian girls? Why is that? Or why don't you really see an African American person with Asians too often in terms of a romantic relationship? So issues like that are very interesting to me. Or why is it that you rarely see a white girl with an Indian guy? So I find those things to be very telling about our society, as well as an issue that could be solved. I think that it's sad because America was never truly united, because every time we have a war we demonize that population, right? And that whole entire nation. So then literally hate crimes are done to people of those ethnic groups every time we go to war with somebody. So, I mean, it's still happening now with the 9/11. It even happened to my boyfriend as recently as, what was that, less than a year ago, when we were walking down and people mistook him for a Middle Eastern person and started yelling racist obscenities. So things like this are definitely something that people should consider thinking about and really thinking about changing, since we do have the power to do so, and we are the nation who should. We have everyone here. So if we're united, we can definitely unite with the rest of the world. So a different topic that I tend to think about as well would definitely be religious discrimination. And it's one thing to disagree with a religion and state that you do, but it's completely another thing when you decide to just treat someone as almost subhuman because of their religion. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that they do that in many aspects. I mean, we're not the only country that does it. So many do. But it's just sad. I mean, I've personally experienced this. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, most people wouldn't know that right now. But I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness until about 7th grade. And not only was I subject to humiliation and everything outside of that community within my schools, but I never really understood why, because I was still a kid. This stuff would happen to me in elementary school, middle school, for things that I thought were normal, but that other people just decided to really differentiate in not so nice ways. So for example, I've experienced having to have my head down on a desk while people are celebrating a holiday in 2nd grade, and having to cover my ears while I do so that I couldn't hear or see the celebrations going on. I've had to sit out in the hall while people read Harry Potter books without being able to even bring my own book to read in the hall. I've had people accuse me of disrupting classes when I wouldn't pledge to the flag but respectfully sit down in my chair. I faced years of things like this. And that's one reason why I just embrace all the religions I see. No matter how different they are from each other, I find them all fascinating. Just because it really hurts. It really hurts people to be discriminated like that. It's a very complicated and difficult feeling to describe. But I think it's something that people oftentimes take for granted when their religion isn't as different as the norm. So I think it's very important just to really think about things like that. I also think of my brother Eric a lot. Eric, I can easily say, is the most important human being in my life. I wished for him, and I take great pride in that. By that I mean when my mom was pregnant, before she even knew the gender of the baby, I told her that I wanted it to be a boy, that I wanted her to make the baby a boy. And she tried explaining to me, Samantha, well, I don't really have a choice in that and everything, but I completely insisted, and I was lucky to get what I wanted with that. He is the sweetest human being I have ever known in my life. And he's just such a beautiful person. And it's sad that so many people define human beings by a disability that they have. Because Eric is not just another person with Phelan-McDermid syndrome or just someone who's disabled. There's so much more to him. And even though he can't do things the same way, like communicate the same way, he can't verbally talk years and years can go by and you might get one word, but he can take your hand and he can still convey all of the same emotions that other people do. He still feels, and so do all the other kids and adults and just human beings in general who have disabilities. And when people say what I refer to as the R word, the word retarded, it just really, it's terrible to hear. Because firstly, most people don't even get the definition right of that word when they use it as an insult. And then secondly, that's just a very cruel way to treat a human being that can't even defend his or herself. If anything, we're the protectors of people who have disabilities. So that's another thing I stand up for and that I think about. I think about how we should care for each other like that and help build each other up instead of trying to tear each other down like that. Especially since a lot of those people can't really defend themselves from insults like that. Life's already hard enough, and most of them still manage to be very happy individuals. And I think that within itself is extremely beautiful and extremely admirable. Fine art is another wonderful, awesome thing that goes on through my mind. I love being artistic. I have that personality, I have the skills to do it, I love drawing, I love painting, I love doing all of those things, but I just feel like I have less and less time when school's going. Like I said earlier, I spend so much time studying that I can't just lose myself for hours in art, as much as I would love it. But I think art is something that can just make no matter what kind of day you had into something spectacular. And being able to share that gift with people is just a wonderful feeling. Other things that kind of get stuck in my mind would be songs. So many types of songs. And I don't just mean different genres of songs, which I do love too, but I'm talking like different countries, different languages. Like I listen to American music, Bollywood music, Chinese music, Korean, Japanese, Pakistani, so much more than that too, just all of these different things, and then I have separate playlists for all of them, and you can't forget instrumental music too. So that is another really nice thing that I also take pride in, just being able to know the different lyrics and then be able to do the pronunciations for the words themselves, and to just gain more insight into a culture through music. Because I love exploring culture. It's like a hobby for me. I also like to explore different cultures in terms of interacting with totally different types of people. So usually I wind up being the only white person in a group. I don't try to make that happen, but it just sort of seemingly naturally does. So most of my friends come from other countries, such as Vietnam, China, India, Ethiopia, Cambodia, just a bunch of different places that I could name. And I just love learning about people, genuinely, and they can tell. So I can get away with asking even very provocative questions because they can tell that I care, and because they can tell that my curiosity is real. So I love doing that a lot. I love having conversations with people. It could be about anything. It could be about religions, ethnic identities, or something very simple like asking them what an object is, or what do different things mean to you, or how do you interpret these situations, and things of that nature. So I think it's a lot of fun. And I've just always been like that since I was really young. I was taught to embrace differences instead of be afraid of them. And I just feel like out of my whole family, I took it to a way new level. Another thing that goes through my mind would be different shows and different movies. So I love, love, love to watch different things like The Walking Dead, Once Upon a Time, tons of different types of animes. I even saw one that was a French anime, which that was really interesting. I kind of binge watched that over a couple days or something. But it wasn't too bad because it was only like 25 episodes that are about like 25 minutes each or so. But anyway, so I love watching all kinds of things. I love Bollywood movies. I love Japanese movies. I love Chinese movies. I probably watch as many movies as I read books. So I think both are just wonderful stress relievers and just mediums to relax your mind. And that's one thing that's just crucial for me because I feel like I just work so much that I need that in my life. If I didn't have releases like that, it would be a lot harder to recover every week because I'm used to burning out multiple times a week, and that's just become a norm for me, unfortunately, especially with this semester and taking my capstone. So I usually work myself to exhaustion and wind up taking these ridiculously long, like 3-hour naps or so just to get through the rest of the week. Usually happens to me on like probably Wednesdays and Fridays or something. It's atrocious. Cannot wait until that part of academia is done. But I enjoy academia itself, so what are you gonna do? And lastly, at least for this segment, another thing I think about is my body in relation to my mind. So I believe that both things should be presented well, as often as possible. And not to say that that should be everyone's lifestyle or something like that, but unfortunately, in a society like ours and in many societies, having only a body is not enough, as well as having your mind be sharpened is always not enough too. But if you have a combination of the two, you're way more likely to be successful. So that is very crucial to me. It's just essential for networking. It's essential for human interaction. And it's just something that I believe will get you farther in life. Not to say it's right, but that just seems to be how it goes, especially for women.